Your focus has been in producing for the last 30 years or so, now writing, directing. Why this transition, and what do you see for yourself going forward?
I had been a very active, prolific supplier of television movies during the heyday of the television movies, sort of the back end of the heyday. So I opened up my company in 1991, and we produced television movies till about 6 years ago. When I started, there was CBS, NBC, ABC, then Fox, and then this whole incredible number of networks. I made the first movie for MTV, for TNT, for ABC Family, for ESPN even. But now there's pretty much, if you want to own a movie and do what I did in my career, there's pretty much Lifetime and very little else. Everyone is now working as an employee in sort of the studio model. And so as I saw that coming on the horizon, as it became clear that the world that I had succeeded in and enjoyed so much as an independent supplier, movie maker during the 90s and the O's, the aughts, was disappearing. And so I had a choice to continue down that road and just make less movies. But I had really wanted to direct. I had, when you hit 60, 65 films and television series, there's not a lot of mountains left to climb. I had won an Emmy. I'd been chairman of the California Film Commission. I had made movies in pretty much every quarter of the globe. I had lived out every dream. I desperately wanted to make a Western on Sergio Leone's sets in Almeria. I got to do that. I wanted to make a movie in Australia and New Zealand. I got to do that. I wanted to do thrillers and Westerns and romantic comedies and a real comedy with a real comedy genius. And I got to do all those things. I worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger on a movie that he directed. So there weren't a lot of mountains left to climb. And I was still young. My kids were headed off to college. And so I wanted more free time to myself. I didn't want to have a company with 6 or 7 employees that were counting on paychecks every week, which is a pressure on itself. And so about 5 or 6 years ago, I said, the only way this is going to happen for me is I have to step off the carousel. So I sold my development to one of my friends and competitors in the TV movie business, and I took about 6 months to decompress, and then I started to look for something I really wanted to direct, and I found a script that I had developed myself, which was one of the only times I've ever developed something at a network and asked for it back because it was really dark and they kept making it lighter and lighter and lighter. And I said, this is not a movie, really not a movie that is going to work light. It has to be as dark. It needs the language, it needs the sex, it needs the violence. It was definitely an indie feature, but we had sold as a television movie. So I picked that script up and I went back to the screenwriters and said, turn this into an indie feature. And they did, for free as a favor. And that was my first directing. It was sort of my student film, which was Perfect Sisters, which I made in Winnipeg and with a crew that I had probably hired 10 times. And I knew really well and owed me favors and also really wanted to work hard for me. And then I was blessed because for my student film, I ended up getting 2 Academy Award, 1 Academy Award winner and Academy Award nominee. And then Georgie Henley, who had been in great movies and is now going to be in the Game of Thrones sequel. So I had a massive panic attack the night before and called 3 director friends to talk me off a ledge and went in and directed this little movie. And I loved every minute of it, including the horror of it, which was, I remember that editor's cut when I sobbed and when I got rejected from a film festival, and then the incredible joy of it finding an audience and becoming one of the most successful thrillers on Netflix and getting renewed and watching all the reactions to it and the stuff online and people creating fan fiction and all of the reaction I don't get in a television movie, and I certainly don't get as the director. And then from there, I decided I wanted to write, and I wrote 2 screenplays that I sold, and then I found that the quiet solitude of writing was something I loved, and I didn't expect. That was a big surprise, that sitting alone in a room with a blank laptop page was not as scary as I thought it would be. And I've adapted a couple of books, and I've done some originals, and I'm loving it. And I'm about to start on my 2nd book, and it's a new chapter. It's a very different mindset. I sort of likened producing in television movies when I had my company as the guy on Ed Sullivan with the pool cues and the spinning plates, and I would just run to whatever one was wobbling. I would be the guy spinning it to make sure that one didn't fall. But you'd have to have 20 spinning plates and cues, pull cues, to have a business, and you had to have employees. And so to what I do now is much more project oriented. So I enjoy just living with certain characters for long periods of time, but getting up in the morning and going back to them, having them stand on the edge of the forest and wait for me, and oh look, Stan's back, and I get to play with them again. When I did Julianne's script, Girl Who Fell from the Sky, I read a lot about what Zemeckis' process was on Castaway, and I read a lot about the process they went through on 127 hours, and I thought, okay, what's it going to be like to write a movie for a single lead for a big chunk of my script where there's nobody for them to talk to? How do I do that? How do I approach that? And I remember Hitchcock wrote in his autobiography that the part of the creative process he loved was painting himself into a corner and finding a way out. He made Lifeboat because someone said there was no way you could make a scary thriller if you could see everything from every direction and no one could move. And so he said, okay, well, let's try that. Let's see if that could happen. And he made Rope to see if he could make a movie that was all one shot and a continuous take. I like that challenge. It's a very different challenge, a very different headspace than being a producer. I like the creative box that I have to find my way into and out of. And I'm really enjoying it. And for as long as I'm enjoying it and able to get people to make my movies or television series or let me direct an episode. I mean, I will say directing an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was the most fun I've ever had in the business. It's a very different experience than when you're the boss. You're like a very, very, very expensive substitute teacher, and you come into the classroom and everybody knows each other and they can finish each other's sentences and they can tell all the same jokes, and you can't, and yet you're still the boss, and yet you still have to decide where the camera's going and where to cut. And so it's a really, and they have so much more money to spend. So coming from the television movie indie feature business where, we'd have very little time and no money, it was amazing to me when I could have any crane or any lens and all the things, all the toys I never got to play with, I got to play with on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that was just a totally new, after all these years in the business, I had a new experience. And I guess the thing I needed the most, which is why I left producing on a big scale and decided to write and direct, was fear. I wanted to be scared again. There was nothing in the television movie business as a producer that was daunting because I had done it all. There was no challenge. I remember we were shooting Patricia Cornwell's book for Lifetime, and we had the third lead had not been cast on a Friday, and we went to camera on Monday, and we were in Toronto, and we were casting this part out of Los Angeles. And I was in my office talking to the network and talking to the casting director, and I had my feet up, and I had an iced tea in my hand, and the production coordinator and the UPM and the line producer all walked in my office and closed the door and said, "Why are you not freaking the hell out?" And I said, "Because come Monday morning, there will be an actress in wardrobe, in hair and makeup, saying the lines." "How do you know that?" "Because I've done this so many times." And sure enough, on Saturday, we found a wonderful actress, and Ashley Williams got on a plane on Sunday and was in makeup and hair and did an amazing job. Because that's how it works. If you've done this enough, you know how things are going to work out. And I wanted to be scared again. I wanted that panic attack that I had the night before I directed my first time I yelled action. I still have it when I go to pitch a feature, which I had never done before. I go to talk to an independent finance. These are scary moments for me, and it's nice to be scared again. I hadn't felt that in a long time.